Judge Judy, Mr. and Mrs. Walker, about a year and a half ago, the defendant had a daycare. At that time, your children, the oldest was 9, and then you had a 5-year-old and an infant who was 4 months old, and you were working. Is that correct? Tiffany Walker, yes, that's correct. 4 months. Judge Judy, and you brought all 3 children over to the daycare, and it was July 2nd of 2015. Tiffany Walker, correct. Judge Judy, this was not the first time you had taken your children to her daycare. Tiffany Walker, that's correct. Judge Judy, how long had they been going to the daycare? Tiffany Walker, almost 2 years my older children were, and since my youngest was about 7 weeks old, I had started taking him to them. Judge Judy, now I'm going to start now with you, Miss Scherer. Heather Scherer, yes. Judge Judy, do you have your own children? Heather Scherer, I do. Judge Judy, how old? Heather Scherer, I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. Judge Judy, so at the time Miss Walker, I think, dropped off the children, your children were at home. Heather Scherer, yes. Judge Judy, so she had 3, you had 4? Heather Scherer, 3 of my children were at home. Judge Judy, between your children and her children, there were 6 children? Heather Scherer, correct. Judge Judy, how many other children were you caring for in July of 2015? Heather Scherer, that day I was caring between 4 and 6 more children. Judge Judy, between 10 and 12 children? Heather Scherer, correct. Judge Judy, and who was there with you? Heather Scherer, my husband. Judge Judy, period? Heather Scherer, yes. Judge Judy, how much do you get per child? Heather Scherer, $20 a day is what I normally charge. Judge Judy, and you were charging her $20 a day or $60? Heather Scherer, I don't believe so. Judge Judy, how much was she charging you? Heather Scherer, it was $350 for every 2 weeks. Judge Judy, and did you know that she had between 4 and 6 other children aside from her own? Heather Scherer, I did not know an exact number, but I knew that there were other children there. Judge Judy, did you know how many people she had taken care of all these children? Heather Scherer, no. Well, who was working at the daycare? I knew that both of them were working at the daycare. Judge Judy, what state do you live in? Heather Scherer, Idaho. Judge Judy, you need a license to have a daycare in your house? Heather Scherer, yes, ma'am. Judge Judy, you still have your license? Heather Scherer, yes, ma'am. Judge Judy, how many children do you care for now? Heather Scherer, between 10 and 12. Judge Judy, with him? Heather Scherer, by myself. Judge Judy, where is he? Heather Scherer, he has a job. Judge Judy, now your 4-month-old child had a broken leg. Tiffany Walker, yes. Judge Judy, and you dropped him off at the daycare, he was fine. Tiffany Walker, that morning, he was perfectly fine. Judge Judy, subsequently, you got a call from the defendant who said that she couldn't stop him from crying. Is that right? Tiffany Walker, correct. Judge Judy, your lawsuit wants her to pay for your medical bills because you thought that they would be covered by some Crime Victims Compensation Act, but they weren't because they found that nobody probably purposely broke the child's leg. Tiffany Walker, they only found that there wasn't enough evidence. Judge Judy, don't tell me what they found. They weren't covered. Now, this is your story that I'm getting from your papers, right? Tiffany Walker, yes. Judge Judy, you were in the kitchen cooking? Tiffany Walker, correct. Judge Judy, it was lunchtime. In the kitchen, you have a swing set up. Tiffany Walker, no, in the living room, it's a straight room. Judge Judy, so it's one large room. Tiffany Walker, yes. Judge Judy, so the swing is in the living room. Tiffany Walker, correct. Judge Judy, and the baby was okay when she dropped the baby off. Tiffany Walker, yes, ma'am. Judge Judy, then I'm reading your answer, and you say that the 9-year-old was holding the baby? Tiffany Walker, correct. Judge Judy, and playing rough with the baby. Tiffany Walker, correct. Judge Judy, let me see what you wrote here. So her 9-year-old, who you're supposed to be watching, was, let me just get the words right here, Bird. Heather Scherer. Mm-hmm. Judge Judy. The baby was crying, so his older brother got him out of the swing, and he stopped crying. Heather Scherer. Correct. Judge Judy. The baby started crying again, and when I turned around, Do you remember what you saw? Heather Scherer. Yes. Judge Judy. Tell me what you saw. Heather Scherer. The brother had the baby on his back on the floor. He had his legs up in the air. He was holding his legs or ankles, and he was twisting him back and forth throughout the living room. Judge Judy. Okay, so what did you do? Heather Scherer. I asked him to please stop. Judge Judy. Ha 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 ha. You asked him, according to you. I told him to pick up the baby and play nicely. Heather Scherer. Correct.